بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Understanding the moods of Fil Muḍāri. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Now we begin one of the most important structural lessons in Arabic grammar, the moods of the present verb, Fil Muḍāri. Until now, we have focused on how the present verb is formed. But from this point onward, we must pay attention to something more subtle. The ending of the verb changes depending on what comes before it. The present verb has three states: marfu, its normal state, mansub, and majzoom. In this segment, we are focusing only on the particles that make the present verb mansub. These particles are called huruf and nasab. When one of these particles enters before a present verb, the ending changes, usually from a damma to a fatha. So instead of saying yaktubu, we now say yaktuba. Now, some of the most common particles that appear before mudario and makes them mansub are an, lan, hatta, izan, Allah, kai, likai, and lamu ta'alil. Try to memorize them in this order: an, lan, hatta, izan, Allah, kai, likai, and lamu ta'alil. Among them, the first and most common particle is an, which often gives the meaning of to or that. For example, ayaktuba means that he writes or to write. Notice the change at the end of the verb. It becomes mansub. Next is lan, which gives strong future negation, meaning will never. So layaktuba means he will never write. Again, the verb changes to mansub form. Then we have hatta, meaning until or so that. In a phrase like hatta yaktuba, the verb is also mansub. The action is connected to a result or purpose. Another particle is izan, meaning then or therefore. When it is used properly in grammatical structure, it causes the verb after it to be mansub, such as izayaktuba. We also have Allah, which is a combination of an and la, meaning that not. In Allah yaktuba, the verb is again mansub. Then there is kai, meaning so that, or in order to. In kai yaktuba, the purpose is clear, and the verb becomes mansub. Similarly, likai strengthens the sense of purpose, in order that, and also makes the verb mansub. Finally, we have lam, known as lam at-talil, the lam of purpose. In li yaktuba, the verb clearly shifts to mansub form. The key principle to remember is simple but powerful. Whenever one of these particles comes before a present verb, the verb changes from its normal marfu state to the mansub state. In most regular verbs, this is seen as a change from damma to fatha at the end. This pattern must be memorized and recognized instantly because it plays a major role in understanding Quranic meaning and grammatical precision. We will soon contrast this with the particles that make the present verb majzoom, and that difference is equally important. Now we strengthen our understanding by looking at real Quranic examples. This is where grammar becomes alive. Instead of memorizing rules in isolation, we now see how these particles actually function inside the Quran. Let us go one by one, calmly and clearly. First example, umirtu an a'abuda Allah. I was commanded to worship Allah. The key particle here is an. After it, the verb a'abuda appears in the mansub form. Normally we would say a'abudu, but because of an, the ending changes. This confirms the rule. An makes the present verb mansub. Next, la yakhluqu dhubaban. They will never create a fly. The particle lan is strong future negation. Notice the verb yakhluqu. In the five-verb form with noon at the end, the noon drops because of nasab. This is extremely important. With verbs, ending in noon, such as yaf'alani, yaf'aluna, taf'alani, taf'aluna, taf'alina. The 5 verbs, Nasab removes the noon. So here, we do not just see a fatha, we see the noon removed. That is the sign. Then we have Hatta yarji'a ilayna Musa, until Musa returns to us. The particle hatta gives purpose or result. The verb yarji'a is clearly mansub with fatha. Again, the pattern holds. Next, idhan ladhahaba kullu ilahin. Then every god would have gone. Here the particle idhan is functioning to show immediate result. The verb becomes mansub. Whenever idhan is grammatically active in this way, it causes nasab. Now look at فَنَادَاهَا مِن تَحْتِهَا أَلَّا تَحْزَنِي. He called to her, do not grieve. The key particle is Allah. The verb after it becomes mansub. Remember that Allah is formed from an and la, and it carries the same effect of nasab. Then we see Kai nusabbihaka kathiran, so that we may glorify you much. The particle kai clearly shows purpose. The verb nusabbiha is mansub. Again, fatha is visible. Next, لِكَيْ لَا يَعْلَمَ بَعْدَ عِلْمٍ شَيْئًا, so that they may know nothing after having known. Here, likaitan strengthens the purpose meaning. The verb becomes mansub. Finally, وَلِيَعْلَمَ اللَّهُ مَا يَنْصُرُهُ, so that Allah may know who supports him. This is the lamu ta'lil, the lam of purpose. The verb after it is mansub. This lam must be distinguished from other types of lam. Here it is purpose, so it causes nasab. Now let us extract the memorization principle. Every time you see one of these particles, an, lan, hatta, izan, Allah, kai, likai, and lamu ta'alil, purpose lam, your eyes must immediately check the ending of the verb. Either you will see a fatha, or if it is one of the 5 verbs, you will see the noon removed. If you train yourself to recognize these patterns inside the Qur'an, Nasab will become automatic for you. This is not just theory, this is living grammar inside revelation. Now we are ready to move to the next category, the particles that make the present verb madzum, and that contrast will complete the picture. Now we move to the second major category, huruf al-jazm, the particles that make the present verb majzoom. If Nasab changed the ending to fatha or removed the noon, jazm does something different. Jazm typically brings sukun to the end of the verb or removes the final noon in the 5 verb forms. So instead of yaktubu, the verb becomes yaktub. This is a very visible change, and students must train their eyes to recognize it instantly. Let us go through the particles carefully. Again, try to memorize them in this order: lam, lama, amr, nahi, in, man, ma. I repeat, lam, lama, amr, nahi, in, man, ma. First, lam. This is past negation. When you see lam, it means did not, but it uses the present verb in majazum form. For example, lam yaktub, he did not write. Notice the sukun at the end. This is not future negation. It refers to the past, even though the verb is present in form. Next, lamma. This means not yet. Example, lamma yaktub, he has not written yet. Again, the verb becomes majzoom with sukun. Then we have lamul amr, the lam of command. This is used for indirect commands, usually for third person or first person. For example, liyaktub, let him write. The verb is majzoom. This is very important. This lam is different from lamu ta'lil. That one causes nasab. This one causes jazm. Next, la nahiya, the prohibitive, do not. Example, la taktub, do not write. The verb is majzoom. Students must not confuse this with the regular la of simple negation. This specific la prohibits and therefore causes jazm. Now we move to conditional particles. Example, in yaktub, yanja, if he writes, he succeeds. Both verbs become majzoom. This is a powerful structural rule in conditional sentences. Then men, whoever, for people. Example, my yaktub, yanja, whoever writes, succeeds. Again, jazm appears. Finally, ma, whatever, for things. Example, my yaktub, yakra, whatever he writes, he reads. The verb after it is majzoom. Now summarize the pattern clearly. Whenever you see one of these particles, lam, lamma, amr, nahi, in, man, ma, your eyes must immediately check the verb ending. You should expect either sukun at the end or dropping of the noon in the 5 verb forms. This is the signature of jazm. At this stage, students must clearly distinguish lan, future negation, to nasab, lam, past negation, to jazm. That difference alone solves many Quranic parsing errors. With nasab and jazm now both understood, the structure of fi'l mudari becomes much clearer and far more powerful. Now we move from theory to real Quranic application. This is where jazm becomes clear and practical. Let us examine each example carefully and identify 2 things every time: the particle and the sign of jazm on the verb. First example, lam yalid wa lam yulad. He did not beget, nor was he begotten. The particle here is lam. After lam, the verb becomes majzoom. Notice, yalid, it ends with a sukun. That is the clear sign of jazm. The same applies to yulad. So, lam gives past negation, and it forces the present verb into majzoom form. Next, وَلَمَّا يَدْخُلِ الْإِيمَانُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ, faith has not yet entered your hearts. The particle is lamma. Again, the verb yadkhul in full pause form is majzoom. Lamma gives the meaning not yet, and it also causes jazm. Now look at فَلْيُنْفِقْ ذُو سَعَةٍ, let a man of wealth spend. Here we have lamul amr, the lam of command. The verb yunfik ends with sukun. This is an indirect command to third person, and the verb is majzoom. The same structure appears in other verses, فَلْيَعْمَلْ and وَلْيَخْشَى. In each case, the verb carries sukun because of jazm. Next example, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ, do not kill your children. The particle here is la nahiya, the prohibitive la. The verb taqtulu is from the 5 verbs. In jazm, the noon drops. Normally it would be taqtuluna, but because of jazm, the noon is removed. This dropping of noon is the sign of jazm in the 5 verb forms. Now, the conditional example, in tansurullaha yansurkum, if you help Allah, He will help you. The particle is in. In conditional sentences like this, the verb after it becomes majzoom. Again, since tansuru is from the 5 verbs, the noon drops. That dropping is the sign of jazm. Next, man ya'mal su'an yujza bihi, whoever does evil will be recompensed. The particle man is conditional for humans. The verb ya'mal ends with sukun, that is jazm. Finally, وَمَا تَفْعَلُوا مِنْ خَيْرٍ يَعْلَمْهُ اللَّهُ, whatever good you do, Allah knows it. The particle ma is conditional for things. Again, the verb becomes majzoom, and in 5 verb forms, the noon drops. Now summarize the recognition rule clearly. Whenever you see lam, lamma, amr, nahi, in, man, ma, you must immediately check the ending of the verb. You will see either sukun on the final letter or the dropping of noon in the 5 verbs. That is jazm in action. If nasab gives fatha or drops the noon, Jazm gives sukoon, or drops the noon. The difference lies in the particles and the meaning they bring. This completes the practical understanding of huruf al-jazm. Now we come to a very important comparison table. This table brings together everything we have studied: Rafa, Nasab, Jazm, Lamul Amr, and La an-Nahiya, all across the full set of pronouns. Up until now, we studied the rules separately. Here, you are seeing the entire system side by side. This is where understanding becomes complete. First, focus on the column labeled Rafa, Marfu. This is the normal, default state of the present verb. For example, yansuru, he helps. It ends with damma. This is how the verb appears when no particle affects it. Now move to the nasab or mansub column. When a particle like lan or an enters, the ending changes. For regular verbs, the damma becomes fatha. For the 5 verb forms, the noon drops. So instead of yansuruna, it becomes yansuru. This is nasab in action. Then look at the jazm or majzoom column. When a particle like lam or in enters, the ending changes differently. Regular verbs take sukoon, yansur. 5 verb forms drop the noon again, but this time because of jazm. So both nasab and jazm can cause noon to drop. But the particle determines which mood it is. Now look at the lamul amr column. This is extremely important. Lam al-amr is used for indirect commands for first and third person. For example, liyansur, let him help. Notice the verb is in majzoom form. This confirms the rule. Lamul amr causes jazm. Then observe la an-nahiya, the prohibitive do not. Example, la tansur, do not help. Again, the verb is majzoom. So both lamul amr and la an-nahiya cause jazm. Now notice something subtle in the feminine plural forms, both in third-person feminine plural and second-person feminine plural. These forms are marked as mabni. This means their endings do not change across Rafa, Nasab, and Jazm. They remain fixed. That is why you see the same form repeated. This is a critical observation many students miss. Also observe the difference between second person and others. For second person direct commands, we use fi'l al-amr, not lam al-amr. Fi'l al-amr is mabni, not mu'rab. But for first and third person commands, we use lam al-amr with the present verb, and that verb becomes majzoom. So this table is not just repetition, it is integration. When you look at it carefully, you should see patterns. Rafa equals default damma. Nasab equals fatha, or dropping noon. Jazm equals sukoon, or dropping noon. Lamul amr and la an-nahiya equals jazm. Feminine plural forms equals mabni, unchanging. If you understand this table deeply, you now control the full structure of fi'l mudari in all 3 moods across all pronouns. This is a major milestone in Arabic grammar mastery. Now we arrive at one of the most important comparisons in this entire chapter: the clear contrast between lam and lan, and how each one affects the present verb differently. At the top of this slide, you see the structural formula. When lam enters before a present verb, the verb becomes majzoom. That means it takes sukoon, or if it is from the 5 verbs, the noon drops. Although the verb is in present form, the meaning becomes past. So, lam aqra means I did not read. This is past negation, using a majzoom present verb. On the other side, when lan enters before a present verb, the verb becomes mansub. That means the ending changes to fatha, or the noon drops in the 5 verbs. But the meaning now refers to the future. So lan aqra means I shall never read. This is strong future negation using a mansub present verb. Now look at the table below. On the right side, you see examples of lam, past negation. Every example shows a completed action that did not happen. I did not read. I did not write. I did not listen. Even though the verb form is present, the meaning is past. On the left side, you see examples of lan, future negation. I shall never read. I shall never write. I shall never listen. Here the action is projected into the future and strongly negated. This distinction is critical. Many students confuse lem and len because they both involve negation and the present verb, but grammatically and semantically, they are completely different. Remember this powerful summary. Lam added to Muḍāri verb akra'u results in Muḍāri Majzum, lam akra, past negation. Lan added to Muḍāri verb akra'u results in Muḍāri Mansub, lan akra'a, future negation. One gives sukun, the other gives fatha. One speaks about something that did not happen. The other speaks about something that will never happen. If you master this contrast, you eliminate a major source of confusion in Quranic grammar. Alhamdulillah, this brings us to the end of this lesson. If you found this video useful, we warmly encourage you to join our online complete self-study course at Al-Qur'an Institute, designed for you to learn at your own time and space, where you will receive unlimited access to our PDF materials, multiple choice questions with answers, exams, and a certificate of completion. You can enroll through our website www.alquraninstitute.net or contact support directly from the website. If you benefited from this video, please like and share, subscribe to our channel, and press the bell icon to receive all future lessons. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make your Quranic Arabic journey easy, fill your heart with clarity and love for His words, and reward you abundantly in this world and the hereafter.